All right, welcome back to Revved Up with Ram Thor, but I am sorry, I am still having some technical issues. For some reason, my streaming software, whenever I schedule a stream, it just started doing this last week. Whenever I schedule a stream, all of a sudden, I go to start it, and it says there's some error with the settings and the latency. I don't really know what's going on with it. It's really annoying. It just started. I don't know why. But anyways, we are back. I apologize. I was not able to put on a show Tuesday. I had something come up. Man, we have got people in here already. What is up? Zach Horton says, well, that was weird. Yes, that was, again, technical issues. Going to try to get that figured out because I do want to be able to have the stream scheduled so that people can get, notices in advance for when it's coming up. But then when I go to actually start a scheduled stream, it won't go, and I have to cancel that one and just do an off-the-cuff live one. And then I got to sit there and take a minute and go into YouTube and re-upload the thumbnail and all this other stuff. So, really annoying. Chili Cho, what is up? Says, at the Alabastard. Hey there, girl. Is the Alabastard in here? What is up, Alabastard? I don't see you in the chat yet, but if you are here, hello. Good to have you back. Robert Whaley, what is up, dude? What is up? Buddy of mine went and saw Davis in the Love last night. Sent me a video of them playing Hot Damn. I should have gotten it on my computer so I could play that here for you guys today. But I guess they had a live show last night and it sounded and looked awesome. Another asshole. What's up, dude? Good to have you back in here. Good evening. And Bread Casket says your app crashed. I think it might have been my app that crashed. I've been having some technical issues with this lately, and trying to get that figured out. But I don't really know if it's going to have an issue until I go live and it has an issue. Ram celebrating Pride Month by being late and gay. No, we are late and super straight here. You can save that late and gay for over there at Don's channel. They're late and gay over here. We are late and super straight. That is how we are over here at Revved Up. The coolest nerd. What is up, dude? Says, so why does Pride Month not? So why does Pride get a month and not the other deadly sins? Exactly. And I mean, Pride is probably the chief of the deadly sins. Pride cometh before the fall. What is it? Pride cometh before destruction, and a haughty disposition before the fall. Something like that. JG Mopar says, hello Ram, hello all, welcome back, JG Mopar. There's the Alabastard. Says, is it just me, or is it just you that has no sound? Are you guys able to hear what I'm saying? I want to make sure that there are no sound issues going on. It's reading that I do have sound. So Tracy James is in here, the Revved Up Rebel Nation stalwart. Welcome back. JG Mopar says, proud month, proud to be super straight. Yeah, yes. The Doll Huck, what is up, dude? Good to have you back in here again. Says, hey, Ram, love it, no pun intended. Let's see. Zach Horton says, you know it's going to be a good stream. Oh, yeah, because we are going to go off. Now, be warned, if you've got kids in the room. Now, I always say that my streams are not for the children because we do tend to have a foul mouth here at times, and we do not want to be corrupting the children. We want to be protecting their innocence because we are not like these lefties who want to take these kids to pride parades and explain to little 5-year-old Timmy what kink is and why that man is being led around on a leather dog leash. No. We are not that type. That is not our brand. So if you do have kids, first little bit of the show here, we are going to be talking about how they have essentially turned Pride Month into Grooming Month. And they are increasingly, it feels like every single show, I have new videos of kids at these drag queen story hours waving money at these scantily clad men dressed as women as if they were strippers, or little girls being taken to a drag show with their paraded up on stage and told to pick up money like they're strippers. All kinds of disgusting stuff because the left needs to indoctrinate these kids young. They need to desensitize them in their most formative years so that as they get older, they know not anything about their higher their higher being of what is correct. They only know how to just feed their baser appetites. That's all they want. They want people who have no ability to say, this is wrong. I understand this is one of my appetites, but I should not indulge it. They want people to just have no morals, no compass, and just say, if I want it, I'm going to do it, no matter whether it's good, bad, because they need a degraded people, because a degraded people are never a self-sufficient people. And it all comes down to that whole concept of self-sufficiency. They do not want us to be self-sufficient. They do want us to rely on them constantly. Big daddy government, take care of me. And they know that a degraded people, they're going to fall into addictions. They're going to fall into places where they need help, and the government is going to be there. The liberal leftist deep state is going to be there to provide it for them on our dime, of course. Let's see. Indeed, loud and clear. Okay, so good. You guys are hearing me. What's up, Apollo Man? Welcome back. Always good to have Apollo Man in here. Always good to have all of you guys in here. Look, you guys all know each other. This is fucking awesome. The Alabastard says, the left are pedos. The left are pedos. The left are pedos. Yes, they are. That's really all you need to know about the left, is that they are pedophiles. And you know, it was so funny because I remember back in the early 2000s, they kept saying the line, all they want is marriage. All we want is for gay people to be able to get married and be treated as equals. Well, for one, if they want to have a civil union, I'm totally fine with them getting the tax benefits and anything that anybody else does. Absolutely fine. But to have gay marriage means you have to redefine what marriage is as an institution. Marriage as an institution is supposed to be the coupling of two people that are going to be the foundational block of a family unit, which is going to be the foundational building block of the society. Now, in order to tear down that societal structure of family units, they have to redefine all the way down to the base of what a marriage means. It's no longer about raising a family. It's no longer about having kids. It is just about love is love. Well, love is also not just love. I mean, the way that I love my dog is going to be different from the way that I love my mother, which is going to be different than the way that I love my girlfriend, wife, or significant other. It is an entirely different thing. Love is not love, and certain loves are actually productive and produce new members of society. Others are just there to feed your sexual appetites, which are, it's essentially any of these homosexual relationships. That's really all it's about. It is simply about what is your desire, because it doesn't produce anything. It is just about feeding those base appetites. It is not about producing anything. It is not about constructing a family unit. It is not about building a secure and stable society that is going to be self-sufficient. As the founding fathers said, only a virtuous society is a society that is able to self-govern. And to all of those who think that liberty just means the ability to do what you want whenever you want, the founding fathers also said, do not let your liberty give way to licentiousness. Because again, you have to have some sort of virtue. Liberty is the freedom to do what you ought to do, to take care and provide for yourself and your loved ones. But they cannot have that, and that is why they have to disrupt it, and they have to dig down. You know, they have all of these academic theorists that have looked into what the Western, the structure of Western society, and they know that it all comes down to the family unit. They know that it all comes down to the partnership of a man and a woman. And so that is what they have to go after. If they are going to tear it all down, they have to tear it down from the foundational building blocks. And that's what they've been doing. That is what they've done. And now, to go after your kids, to try to indoctrinate them into this LGBTQIA nightmare that we are now living in, it is also to subvert the will of the parents. It is to make sure that if you do have kids, that you are not the primary influence on them. They are going to be raised by the culture. They are going to be raised by the omniscient, It's becoming an omniscient mission of both the corporate and the government, of them needing to take away your role as the influence in your children's life, and it does not matter whether that means that your children will then grow up to resent and hate you. They love that, actually. They love that. The more children they can steal from families, the more they can put into the orphanages, the more that they can put into their own coffers, the more it solidifies their place as the future providers of this nation. And it's really, really disgusting and disturbing stuff. We got the True Grave in here. What is up? True Grave says, just when I thought I was going to be early, my kids wanted me to read a book to them. Well, that was a good thing to do. That was a good thing to do. You are never late and gay when you're reading to your kids. That is late and super straight. A late and super straight move, True Grave. The coolest nerd says, True Grave, the kids come first. Yes, absolutely. That is good to see. Never apologize about taking care of the kids. You can always come and catch up with us later. So good to have y'all in here. Now, before we get into all that, I just wanted to share this one story. Let's see, True Grave says, families are already being torn apart by these communists. Oh, it's been happening for decades. It's been happening for decades, but they are now in absolute overdrive. Born a Hawkeye, what up, dude? Says, we are weakening, they are emasculating. Yeah. I mean, they really are. They're trying to emasculate all. They're trying to emasculate all the men in society, and they've always said that. Okay, well, anything a man can do, a woman can do too. And then when that proved not to be true, what do? They weaken the men. So they try to level the playing field, because that is how communism always works. It always works by chopping down the tallest trees. It is anybody who's ever read Harrison Bergeron. It's like a 10-page short story by Kurt Vonnegut, and it's about how, you know, the people who are the fastest in society, they had weights put around their ankles. The people who were smartest had something put in their ears to blare something in so they couldn't think clearly. It is all, you cannot make everybody equal, which is why they are so hyper-focused on equality. Well, it's not even equality anymore. It's equity, which is going to be equality of outcome. The reason they are so focused on that is because they're going to have to be, or I guess not the reason why they're so focused on that, but the byproduct of them being so focused on that is that they are only going to chop down the tall trees. They're only going to drag down the best among us so that nobody can stand above the others. Yeah. Let's see. Born a Hawkeye says, does anybody find it funny that these private companies are run as companies run our gas lines and produce our meat? It seems they are attacking private companies so they can socialize. Yeah, that's kind of at the tail end of what I was going to be talking about. I mean, these are, I was listening to Salty Cracker earlier, and he was talking about this, and I think the way he said it was best. He said that these companies are only private when they're profiting. When they take losses, they're all of a sudden going to be government-run entities. But yeah, we're seeing that a lot, and that a lot of these private companies are really just government contractors, which means they're outsourcing. They're either outsourcing government responsibility or the government is sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. But yeah, and they probably will. They probably will use that as a reason to socialize or to what's the term? To nationalize certain industries. We've seen that in every socialist regime in the history of America, or not the history of the world. Where they nationalize industries as a result of some sort of crisis, whether real or manufactured. Let's see. Robert Whaley says, geez, who else wants to get rid of gas and meat? Maybe the Dems hacked the two companies. Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if the Biden administration themselves or the Pentagon or somebody up in the upper echelons of government paid these hackers to go in and do this. Because what do you do when you are attacking a nation? You cut off their supply lines, energy and food. Holy shit. And then you know, I'm just going to go ahead and play this because we were going to talk about it later, but you guys got me going on it. Jen Psaki. Let me find the article here. So, oh no, I hope I didn't close it. Okay, yeah. So Jen Psaki here was asked about this. When pressed on why the U.S. has seen two massive cyber attacks under Biden, Psaki tells Peter Doocy to track down the Russian hackers. Now, I don't think it was actually Peter Ducey. I think it was a CBS reporter, actually. I think it was somebody that sparred with Trump all the time. Okay, yeah, NBC's Peter Alexander. Yeah, which is somebody who sparred with Trump all the time, which should really be eye-opening. If some of these anti-Trump press members, White House press corps, are now going after Psaki the same way that they went after Kayleigh McEnany or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they're in trouble. They're in trouble because Jen Psaki is not equipped to handle this, as you can hear in her response right here.
On the JBS hack, these hackers based in Russia have disrupted American gas supplies and American meat supplies. Why do you think that these ransomware attacks have been rising since President Biden took office?
Well, first I would say these are private sector entities who have a responsibility to put in place measures to protect their own cybersecurity. As it relates to why criminal actors are taking actions against private sector entities, I don't think I'm the right one to speak to that.
So total coincidence.
I think you could certainly go track down those cyber criminals in Russia and have a good chat with them.
Okay, if you have any leads, we'll take that.
Okay.
So she's completely dismissive of the entire thing, saying, oh, that had nothing to do with us. And I think they were telling the Colonial Pipeline people, just go ahead and pay the ransomware. Just go ahead and pay them off. Pay the terrorists. Negotiate with the terrorists. That was their message. And so they did. They paid a $5 million ransom for the Colonial Pipeline. And then, no surprise, a couple weeks later, here we got a cyber attack, another ransomware attack on our biggest meat supplier in the country. This is our food and energy. And the government is sitting there just saying, not our problem. Not our problem. We don't have to worry about this. And, sure, I get it. Yes, these companies, they do need to take care of their own. But the absolute disinterest that they have in actually protecting their citizens, to lay this down at the feet of just the private companies, I think you're right. I think they're going to use this as an excuse to nationalize these different industries. And, of course, when it comes to the meat packing, we know that they would love to do away with the meat industry altogether. How many times have we heard it? You are going to live in a pod, eat the bugs, and be happy. And we have seen all this stuff about eating bugs constantly. And it's been talked about by Klaus Strauss of the World Economic Forum. You know, we're gonna have to eat bugs. And now CNN does this on-air thing where CNN anchor eats dead bugs on live television. They are priming the pump for this, guys. They are priming the pump so that we can get accustomed to the idea that we are going to have a diet not of steak and burgers and chicken and all the stuff that we love to eat, but we're going to be eating, 17-year-old dead cicadas, waiting for the next batch to come up every 17 years or however long it is. So CNN's Brianna Keeler is apparently so desperate for a bit of attention that she ate dead cicadas on live television. The dead insects were prepared for her by sushi chef Bun Lai, who serves bugs at his restaurant Mia. And we're not going to watch this whole thing, but there's just a couple parts that I think need to be touched on.
Across the country, billions, trillions of cicadas are making their appearance after spending the last 17 years underground. And no one is more excited to see these winged insects make their debut than my next guest, who cannot wait to put them on his menu. That is right. Joining me now is Bun Lai. He is a recipient of the White House Champion of Change Award. He is also the chef of Mia's, which is the first sustainable sushi restaurant in the world.
Sustainable. That is one of the key buzzwords of the globalists. And we've heard that CNN is going to be pushing the whole climate change agenda very hard coming soon. And that we're already starting to see those key buzzwords, that sustainability buzzword. So they're already priming the pump for it.
World. Bun, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for skipping breakfast and getting ready for this experience.
I am ready. Well, no, I'm not really ready. I have to be honest. Okay, this is I haven't actually eaten a bug since I was 3 when I had a spider.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm really psyched about the whole trillions of cicada coming out for Brood 10 because it's getting so much press and nature's getting press. So there's all sorts of important issues that this becomes a platform for. So eating insects is really the future, and it's been the past.
There you have it. Eating insects is really the future. No. Not for us. Not for Americans. We do not eat bugs. If some third world country that doesn't have any sort of agricultural infrastructure eats bugs, well, that sucks for them. But it will not be us. And whenever they scale that whole socialist model to always dragging down the top so that everybody is equal, everybody has an equitable outcome, you know that what that means. They're going to scale it globally, and that means the rich countries are now going to be as poor as the poorest countries. Now, of course, are the Bill Gates of the world, are the Klaus Strausses of the world, are they going to eat bugs? Fuck no, they're not. They're going to be eating bacon-wrapped filet mignon and caviar and all the stuff because they're above us. There are gods, ladies and gentlemen. They are priming the pump for this. They are getting us warmed up so that we will accept it. By the time that, 3 years from now, or I guess 2030 is their plan. So that by 2030, this will be so ingrained, it'll be normalized to us the same way they're normalizing this whole idea of, if your 2-year-old feels like if your 2-year-old boy feels like a girl, just lop his dick off, feed him hormone blockers, and then, make him a girl, because that can be so. They're trying to normalize this stuff because they've all looked at the past. And if we look at the history of progressivism in America from the 60s all the way to today, even a lot of the stuff that us conservatives say is okay, people in 1960 would look at us and be like, wait, you guys actually tolerate that shit now? Because they know that you go from one generation to the next. You normalize something, and the generation that it's new to looks at it in disgust. But then the next generation, the younger ones, the ones that they're grooming for all this, they are going to find it normal by the time they are old enough to even understand what it is. That means they're never going to question the premises. They're never going to question from the beginning, wait, is this right? Is this moral? Is this something we should be doing? They will never ask those questions because it will just be built into the framework of our society. It will just be what they know. Let's see. Roy Rush, what's up, dude? Says once they ever manage that, they will be coming door to door to take your belongings. I think you guys were talking about somebody about taking guns earlier. Yeah, they ain't taking our guns. They ain't taking our guns. That ain't happening. Chell says, eating insects is the future. Oh, good Lord, no, not in my house. Hell no. Yeah, I'll have livestock out in the back. I'll do whatever I have to do. I am not eating the damn bugs. The Alabaster says, that's how socialism always works every single time. The Bread Casket says, I ate the cheese-flavored crickets they sell at the museum. Not that bad, actually, but fuck these people if they think we're eating bugs for real. I know. If you did it as a novelty, that's one thing. Oh, already got a live edit. Sorry, guys. Doing it as a novelty is one thing. Doing it because we have become so poor that we can no longer afford steak and chicken and legitimate food sources, not so good. Maintenance Man, what is up, dude? Says, hell no, not me. Tim Pool says he will eat bugs. Sick. Yeah, no, not for it. Not for it. Although, it's interesting because, the rich love to eat their lobster and crab. There was which are essentially the bugs of the sea, and there was a time where lobster and crab was reserved for the poor people, which is really, really, kind of makes you worry. They might be able to pull this off. They might be able to subvert our mindsets and pull this one off and make the people think that eating bugs is a delicacy. And hell, when anybody says that something is a delicacy, I'm like, oh, so that means it's something that we wouldn't eat in a million years here in America. Robert Whaley says, Tim Pool is a dipshit. I've been over that guy for the better part of 2 years. Yeah, I know. I used to listen to him all the time, and now his IRL show is much better because when he actually has other people checking his ideas, it's better. But when he does his own single videos, they are very difficult to listen to. And if I have to hear him say that the Democrats ocean 11'd Trump in the election one more time, Can't stand that. Cannot stand that. Born a Hawkeye says, I couldn't get gas because they destroyed that supply for a fake ransomware attack. Now they've attacked the meat industry and told us to eat bugs. They said you would own nothing and be happy. Own nothing and be happy by 2030. Exactly. Live in the pod, eat the bugs, and you will never have been happier. Mohammed bin Goldstein says, wow, they give everyone a microphone, huh? Yeah, well, no, we buy our own microphones around here. That's a very odd name, Mohammed Goldstein. What side of the fence do you land on in the whole Israeli-Palestine argument? That'd be an interesting conversation. Mohammed says you are a dipshit. Nobody cares what Mohammed says. Nobody at all cares what Mohammed says, and you are banned, douchebag. Let's see. Tracy James says, nah, I'm going to stick with a good thick cheeseburger. Yes, exactly. Damn, make me want a cheeseburger now. JG Mopar says, I can hunt for food if needed. No bugs. Exactly. Well, you won't be the only one with that idea, and we're gonna see the deer population thin out very quickly, I believe. Let's see. So, yeah, you guys, Mohammed deleted his. No, I banned him. I'm not gonna. Trolls don't. I'm not gonna deal with trolls in the chats. You know, there's no reason to do that. If he doesn't like the show, what are you doing? Sitting around listening to somebody you don't like, anyways. I don't sit around and listen to David Pakman just to give him shit because I have a life, and whatever. You know, you're a fan officially. If you're going to hang out in here and talk shit, you're a fan. Alex Gorilla says, thank God I didn't have kids. Well, I mean, it's going to take based people having kids and populating the world with based kids in order to fix that problem. So, Brett Casket says the whole David Pakman. I've actually never even listened to David Pakman. I don't listen to Tim Pool was the furthest left I would go on YouTube, and even him, I find him nauseating a lot at this point. But anyways, we need to talk about let's see. Well, we always got to do a little bit of our libs of TikTok in here because that is always the most fun cringe. I feel sorry for the person who runs this Twitter account. I do not think that they knew what they were getting into when they started scanning TikTok looking for this stuff and how much. I mean, just going through their own feed. I walked out and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go walk off the roof of my building right now. But anyways, this woman or
the
thing.
Obesity epidemic isn't real and it shouldn't be an anti-capitalist talking point. When someone unironically references the obesity epidemic or even uses the word obesity, it tells me they really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to fatness. This use of the word obesity stems directly from the BMI, which was created by a eugenicist with no medical training who based the scale only on white bodies and cow math. Fatness is not an epidemic. Fat people existed before capitalism and before colonization. Fat phobia is a direct result of anti-blackness, and it has deadly consequences for many groups of indigenous folks and other people of color, as well as fat folks. When you make the obesity epidemic a real symptom of capitalism, you are not only ostracizing fat people from anti-capitalist thinking, but also actively ignoring that the health outcomes related to obesity are more accurately attributed to food deserts and fatphobic discrimination in healthcare. The obesity epidemic was created by Western medicine to avoid addressing the actual causes of health inequity, which is what we as anti-capitalists should be doing. The obesity epidemic isn't real.
Does anybody know what the fuck these people are ever talking about? They go on these rants and they use all of this clinical language, all this gobbledygook that means absolutely nothing, and it sounds like a chick, but shaved head, and I see that mustache. Maybe this chick has been taking her hormones, or dude, whatever they want to call themselves. Now, it definitely sounds like a chick, but wow. Looks like I got a couple new people in here. Robert Chalk says, what the fuck? Dude, exactly. we always have to start out mocking these assholes. We always have to make fun of them because that is how we win this war. That is how we win this culture war. We need those youngins. We need those aggressive youths to be looking at us as the ones having the fun, mocking these stupid fucking idiots, and jumping onto our side because we are the ones having the fun here. Corn, 1699. What's up? I think you are new here. Says she is black. Do not tell her what she can identify as. She is Rachel Dolezal black. She is Sean King black. But how is fat phobia anti-blackness? That is. Oh God, what the fuck do these people? What are they talking about? You can't even decipher them. The coolest nerd says, thankfully she won't likely be alive much longer to keep spewing this bullshit. Not with that perfectly healthy body of hers, man. That her perfectly healthy heart is going to perfectly stop one day. Another asshole says, replacement for bovines, although I bet that that gives cattle a run for the gas emissions. Holy shit. Damn. Robert Chalk says, oh, cow math is when she turns 2 triples into a hex burger. This woman might need the bug diet. This might be someone who needs the bug diet. No more cheeseburgers for this one right here. No more cheeseburgers. Let's see. Robert Whaley says she's black in the parts that she can't reach with a washcloth. Holy shit. Damn. Cold-blooded. Y'all are savages in here. Holy shit, the Alabaster says she goes to McDonald's and orders the Noah, 2 of everything. Holy cow. Oh, man. Y'all are brutal. Now, this one reminds me of a segment back when I was doing the original version of Revved Up, when I was doing the highly edited, scripted out videos. The last one, I did this montage of before and after feminism. I did not have this one readily available to me at the time, but this is the worst of them all. She says, this is my my senior year of high school. Looks like a very pretty young woman getting ready to go off to college. I just took a DNA test, turns out. And that's her now. Dropping out my first year of college. I don't care about the copyrights. DNA test turns out I'm 100%.
The trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
I just took a DNA test. At least she knows what she is. At least she knows she is trash now. She went. Now, you guys, be warned. This is why you don't send your kids to college anymore, because that was her. She said dropping out after her first semester in college. That means this change happened from this girl right here to this thing. Okay, first year of college. That all happened in the course of under 12 months. Cautionary tale, ladies and gentlemen. This is a cautionary tale for why you send your sons to trade schools and you tell your daughters to find a nice man. That's where we are back. We need to reject all of the trappings of modernity and go back. It is now 1954 in the Revved Up Rebel Nation. It is now 1954. We are going back to it. Now, maybe we need to make it 1854. Shit. God. True Grave says, hey, Ram, check your Twitter. I will do that. I will do that after the show. Is there something that you want me to show on the show? Karma Cat says, you're back. Yes, I am back. I am back. Good to have you in here, Karma Cat. Man, we got a pretty good crowd in here today. We got a pretty good crowd in here. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Let's try to get some more new people in here. YouTube is assho. We all know that YouTube is assho. So we need to do everything we can to get the algorithm to stop suppressing me. And those thumbs up do help. So if you will go ahead and hit that thumbs up button real quick, try to get the word out, and let's grow the Revved Up Rebel Nation, because we need to defeat fucking Commieland. The True Grave says, the only bugs I'm going to eat is chocolate-covered grasshopper at Cold Stone Eatery for a free ice cream. They probably don't do that anymore. No way hell I'm eating a cicada. Yeah, I wouldn't even do that. I'll just pay for my ice cream, guys. I'll just pay for my ice cream. Born Hawkeye says suppression is racism. I know. I'm being so racismed right now by YouTube. I've been racismed by YouTube for the better portion of a year now. But, you know, what is a poor white racially afflicted man gonna do in this country of minority privilege? You know, all I can do is cry about it, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Bread Casket says, "No way, mullets are the shit. I'm rocking one right now." Well, you might want to see who you're sharing the stage with, Bread Casket. As somebody who used to always get into a band like a year before they blew up and then they ended up sucking, I'm well accustomed to the idea of once your shit gets invaded by the losers, you gotta just walk away and just admit that that's part of life. Nothing gold can last, and what was once awesome can be taken over and destroyed by the dregs of society. So, let's see. Oh my God, this one, I almost didn't play this one. Make sure you don't have kids around for this one. This is an actual ice cream shop, apparently in Miami. And it's disgusting.
I got to visit the new sex-themed dessert shop in Miami before it opens. They have cocktails in the shapes of dick. They're made with a super thick waffle. Am I literally reading a Wattpad story right now? Then you get it rubbed down with a topping of your choice. I chose Nutella and a drizzle of vanilla. If you're feeling adventurous, you can also get the Tulip Special. So go check it out when it opens in a few weeks and have a blue waffle in my honor.
Freedom of speech has gone too far, ladies and gentlemen. This is, this is just obscene, and it's an ice cream shop. Again, they're going to where the kids are gonna go. There's gonna be, there's gonna be some mom walking around with her kid, and she sees ice cream shop and doesn't take a close look at the sign, walks in and with her little daughter and gets handed one of those fucking things. Yeah, Robert Chalk says shut it down. Yes, shut it down. That should not. We have gone way too far with this whole notion that liberty means no rules. As the Founding Fathers said, do not let liberty give way to licentiousness. That is a prime example of what happens when you do right the fuck there. Shut it down. No. I mean, that's basically like selling. It's an ice cream shop. It's a sweets shop. It's for kids, and then they're selling that stuff there. Again, they are coming after your children. Got Southern in here, says, whoa. Yeah, I know. For real. Not cool. Jelly Chell says, Ram, I just can't with you this evening. I'm sorry. We gotta cover this shit though, man, because they are coming after us. Southern says, that should only be an adult type ice cream themed store. Yeah, well, it should only be in an adult store. If some adult store wants to put that in there, fine. But don't set it aside as just like an ice cream shop on Main Street where the kids are going to be like, hey, Mommy, I want to go get a scoop of ice cream. No, we're not going to that store. We are not. But, Mommy, I want one. No. And then you have to explain to the kid why you won't take them in to get a fucking coxicle. It's disgusting. Then you have to explain that to them. And that's the whole thing is it's a parent's job to try to protect their children's innocence for as long as possible. You know, when you live in a world where this kind of stuff is just on the corner, exposed to your kids, it makes that job damn near impossible, and that is precisely what the left wants. They do not want us to be able to protect our children because they want to degrade your children because misery loves company. And all of these people that live these lifestyles, they're miserable. All these people that live these licentious lifestyles, they're miserable. They're slaves to their own vices, to their own addictions, to all of this different stuff. They're not living free. Shelly Chell says, I wouldn't even buy my kids Dipping Dots. They can survive without ice cream. No wonder they call me the no mommy. Well, Dippin' Dots are gross anyways. Back when I worked at a bowling alley in high school, we served that stuff and it was disgusting. Another asshole says, on the bright side, it's gonna be multiple easy targets for the RWDs. Man. Now, of course, this right here.
Used to be the fastest girl in Connecticut, but transgender athletes made it unfair. Well, you weren't the fastest girl, were you? You may have been the fastest turf, but you weren't the fastest girl.
Notice the crazy eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it that all of these people, they all have those crazy eyes? They all have those eyes that say, I am dead inside and I want you to die with me. She says, or he says, you may be the fastest turf. That's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. Well, who's to say that they're even a feminist? But you're not the fastest girl. Because they want us to buy the premise that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. There is no sexual difference, and we are just all big blobs of clay that they can just mold into whatever shape. Blank slates where they can construct and define reality for us. J.G. Mopar says meth or heroin. I don't know. That might be a speedballer right there. That might be a speedballer. They might mix their meth with a little bit of heroin and get that 2-time tap going on. Let's see. The Alabastard says, I make my living as a sports therapist. There are literal biological differences between men and women. Absolutely. Very many of them. Many. Southern says definitely probably speedballing. Yeah. That's the type of person that says, why do I have to choose between my meth or my heroin? Give me both. Yeah. Then here, this again, coming for the kids. Now they say this literally. I got cornered by 3. I think libs of TikTok is probably right. This probably never happened, but they have to make a show of it.
I got cornered by 3 of my 6th grade students at lunch today, and they came up to me all excited. They were like, Miss Collins, what's your sexuality? And I said, why do you need to know that right now? And they were like, oh, I don't know. I just think you'd be like a super fun, like, bi or pan person. And I said, well, I don't really know how much I'm allowed to talk.
It is a major problem when you have 6th graders. These are 11 and 12-year-old kids going up to their teacher and saying, I think you'd be a great a fun bi or pan person. When I was 11 and 12 years old, I did not know about this stuff. I was too young for it. And the fact that they know this much about it is a problem. Now, I get it. We live in the information age. We live in the age of the internet, and it is much harder for parents to shield their kids from all kinds of content. But something's got to be done. Because this shit ain't right.
Well, I don't really know how much I'm allowed to talk about this to students, but does looking at my shoelaces help? And these kids just flipped out. They were so excited.
So they were so excited that their teacher is trans. We're talking about 11 and 12-year-olds. I try to remain hopeful for a future, but it is getting tougher and tougher. The Alabastard says, things that never happened for 500, Alex. Yes, exactly. I don't believe that this story ever happened, but nonetheless, the fact that they are pointing out that this was 3 6th grade students really goes to show that they are pushing this stuff on the children. The bread casket. So, wait, is that male to female or female to male? Who knows? Who cares? DE, I think you are new in here. Welcome to the Revved Up Rebel Nation. Says, I was watching A-Team, Dukes of Hazzard at that age. Jeebus, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea. Yeah, what was it? What was I watching at that? I don't remember what I was watching when I was 12 years old. I was mostly just into baseball and football, and I was a sports kid, so I don't know that I watched too terribly much TV. I was probably watching Home Improvement at that age. The Coolest Nerd says, I just got into an argument with a trans teacher in Loudoun County, Virginia about base Tanner Cross 2 nights ago. Dude, I saw that story about Tanner Cross. I saw that story. That's how he got up, and he just said, I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't want to lie to people. I don't want to abuse these children and have them pumping hormones into them. And the Loudoun County School Board put him on suspension. I might know a little bit of something about that right there. Little bit of something about being suspended for your conservative beliefs. But, that's our cross to bear, and we must continue to fight, and we must never bend the knee to these people, if you can even call them people. So, JG Mopar says, I was watching Sanford & Son, Hee Haw, Emergency, and Adam 12 when I was little. I used to watch a lot of like Dragnet and stuff from like the 50s and 60s. I don't even know exactly when they were. Thirsty Boy says, Ram, have you read Thomas Sowell, Vision of the Anointed? He has 2 chapters dedicated to how the left uses statistics and scientific data to manipulate things. Yes, well, I have not read that. I've read what was this Thomas Sowell book I read? It was The Quest for Cosmic Justice. That was really good. But, in terms of statistics, what they always say, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. But, Border Hawkeye says, I want to say some things that I cannot say on the internet right now, but they are really pushing it. Oh, you and me both, buddy. A lot of things I would like to say. Like this totally coherent video from this woman right here. Now, I totally understand what she's saying. She makes perfect sense, and it's not a bunch of gobbledygook. This is actually a real thing, and I can't keep this act up anymore. I can't keep it up. Listen to this fucking nonsense.
As you know, the term intersex refers to anyone who doesn't fit into the biological sex categories of male or female, meaning that there's some variation in the hormones, chromosome, internal reproductive anatomy, or external genitalia. One question that I've gotten a lot is, if an intersex person is non-binary, does that make them cisgender? Let's define the terms. To be cisgender means that you identify as the gender that you were assigned at birth, and to be transgender means that you identify as a gender other than the one that you were assigned at birth. At the end of the day, most intersex people are still assigned a sex at birth, meaning that when they're born, they're still typically assigned either male or female. This means that intersex people can be cisgender, intersex people can be transgender, intersex people can be non-binary, intersex people can basically have any gender identity that a non-intersex person can have. So no, if an intersex person identifies as non-binary, that doesn't make them cisgender. They would still fall under the transgender umbrella and still be identifying as a gender other than the one that they were assigned at birth.
I hope none of you guys committed suicide listening to that. Otherwise, I would feel guilty. That is the sort of stuff that you just listen to and you're like, why do these people exist? Why do these people exist? The Garba Cat just says there's actually people out in the world thinking like this. Yes, hold on. let's not give them too much credit here. Let's not say that that's really thinking. I'm not sure that qualifies. I am not sure that meets the threshold of thinking. They are regurgitating nonsense like that, yes. Let's see. Tracy James says, Ram guys, I am straight white female with morals and a deep love for my nation. Yes. Well, have a love for the United States of America, but also the revved up rebel nation. God, you guys are going nuts in the chat right now. Let's see. JG Mopar says, there are a lot of those lunatics in California. I have to deal with them, and I mock the shit out of them every chance I get. Hey, you don't got to tell me. You don't got to tell me. I know all about those California lunatics. It's called California for a reason. It's called California for a reason. Let's see here. Oh man, we're already 52 minutes in. I always do this. I never get to everything I want to talk about. So I need to take a break from the chats here and just go through some videos here and go through some stories.
So I just got kicked out of a gender reveal party. Everybody's clapping, it's a boy, and I just happen to say, well, let's give it 10 years and see if it sticks. Grandma clutches her pearl. I'm leaving! The receipt's in the bag! I got them a pride onesie from Target.
I wouldn't have just kicked you out of my gender reveal party. I would have kicked you out of the fucking family, you fucking crazy bitch. You are gone. No, you will not be around that kid. You got him a pride onesie. Of course you did. Because, only the leftists always have to be like this. It's supposed to be something for the child, and really it was just an antagonistic political statement being made. That wasn't a gift that was actually made of any sort of genuine intention to provide for a mother-to-be. It was her ability to stick it in the craw and say, ha-ha, gotcha. Get the fuck out of here, you selfish cunt. Jesus. Now, this is where you guys have probably all heard of this already, and I was going to be covering this on Tuesday, but the children's cartoon series Blue's Clues released a Pride Month sing-along featuring drag queens and transgender children. Love is love is love, you see, and everybody should love proudly, and we'll all go marching in the big parade. Thanks, Blue's Clues. Happy Pride Month, the drag queen says. As I already said, love is not love is not love is not love is not love. There are different kinds of love. They are not all one and the same, but they do this to this sort of sloganeering is designed to undermine and destroy people's ability to think critically. How many times do you see your leftist friend on Facebook or whatever social media platform post a meme trying to compare one thing with another thing, and they completely miss the premise because they are missing the glaring differences. They point like, oh, this is the same as this. Like, no, it's not the same as this. If you rubbed two brain cells together, you would have been able to spot out the differences. But you are ignoring your critical thinking abilities, and you are trying to assume that we will ignore ours. We will not. We will not play that game. But watch this video is, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but there's a couple parts where I need to address.
Hey, Blue, look at all these families. Hi, families. It's time for a pride parade. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. This family has two mommies. They love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching two by two, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching two by two, hurrah, hurrah. This family has two daddies. They love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Come on, friends. Families marching three by three, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching three by three, hurrah, hurrah. These babas are non-binary. They love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching four by four, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching four by four, hurrah, hurrah. Trans love each other so proudly, and they all.
See, they have to put the trans kids in there. You notice they got the little kid beavers or whatever in there, and they have to point out that the kids are trans. They always want to make sure that the kids do not recognize the absolute truth of sexual binaryism and sexual difference. And they talk about, notice the phrasing that they use in here. They say families go marching. These are not families. A family is a mother, a father, and children. Whatever else they have here, 2 dads and kids is not a family. That is not what a family is. But they have to redefine everything. They have to tear down whatever the understanding of the existing culture is. And this is not so that they can actually push. They don't actually believe that this is a good way to live. It's just a way to destroy the way that we already live, so from the ruins, they can build up their socialist utopia, which is really just going to be transnational feudalism with a serf state, and these people are going to suffer. These are the people, these are the sacrificial lambs, these people that have the mental illnesses, that believe that they are transgender. They are the sacrificial lambs on the pyre to a establishment deep state that wants to aggregate as much power underneath them, and so they use them to subvert everything that makes the American people a self-sustaining people. Let's see. The True Grave says, honestly, I would argue that freedom of speech doesn't exist outside of the government. It turns out your words have consequences. What the lefties will say that about banning people on big tech. So that's not an entirely. But the thing is, there's always been speech codes. I mean, you haven't always just been able to say whatever the hell you want in America. The problem is the standards. You know, in the 50s, there was a Hays Code. While not necessarily, it wasn't actually a governmental, it wasn't a law. It was self-imposed by the movie studios. There were certain things that you couldn't say. And there were certain things that if you said, you were ostracized from polite society. But what is it now? What used to be virtues have become sins, and what used to be sins have become virtues. That is part and parcel with the demoralization of a society, is when you completely flip the cultural norms on its head, and they've invaded all of our institutions as a way to back up and enforce this. And how quickly this has happened. Anybody who doesn't go along faces the consequences, and so many people are too cowardly to stand up to this. Well, I say it does not matter the consequences. I will not bend the knee to this insanity. Oh my God. This next one's even worse. This next one is even worse. So, Dalton parents enraged over masturbation videos for first graders. Again, if you've got kids, get them out of the room now. So, last fall, the parents at the posh $55,000 per year Dalton school got wind of their first graders being taught sex education lessons that included masturbation. They complained to school administrators, but were told that they simply misinterpreted what Dalton's now notorious health and wellness educator, Justine Ang Fong, who last month led a controversial and explicit porn literacy workshop at another elite prep school, was teaching. But after the post expose last week on the porn class, Dalton's parents bombarded the school with more complaints about Fonte's curriculum, sources told the Post. The Post viewed a video of a cartoon Fonte used in one of her sex ed classes for 6-year-olds, showing little kids about touching themselves for pleasure. Fonte has reassured parents that she does not use the word masturbation in class, and that her lessons teach kids not to touch themselves in public. Oh, great, then it's okay. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look, again, look at the crazy eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the eyes. Hold on. We got, who's this Mark Medina in here? Says, no, it's not mental illness. Why do you care about... It's not that I care about other people's genitals. I care about truth in a society that is built on truth, and a society that does not subvert the parents' ability to raise their children in a world of truth by telling them and feeding them abject lies. The left never understands these things. These people on the left, they always make it about the surface thing. Why do you care about their genitals? I don't. But I do care about truth. I do care about structuring a society that does not mutilate little children, feed them hormone blockers that will destroy them for the rest of their lives, and construct a society entirely built upon lies. Reality will always reassert itself in the end, and the further you build your society from reality, the harder that reality will reassert itself. Yeah, chill with the 6. I don't even know what you're saying, but this is, yeah. So, yeah, anyways. They were also taught a lesson about consent, because to the left, everything is okay so long as it's consensual. Consent is the only thing that matters. Nothing matters about, not caving in to all of your baser desires and degrading yourself and doing all sorts of disgusting acts that, well, again, degrade you. Essentially, it's self-degradation. They put on a pedestal self-degradation these days. So, while one mother conceded that teaching the concept of consent can be valuable in protecting children from abuse, another said telling your kids that their own parents or grandparents should not touch them without first asking for permission is too extreme. Literally, parents are supposed to say to their kids, "May I hug you?" one parent said. One mother said another parent told her, "I'm paying $50,000 to these assholes to tell my kid not to let her grandfather hug her when he sees her." Yeah, that's, again, pushing the parents out of the picture. And just what... I really don't want to play this video because it's gross and disturbing. But you got to see what they're showing 6-year-old kids in schools, in these expensive prep schools. Imagine what they're showing in these public schools. I don't know if maybe it won't play. Maybe that'll be a blessing in disguise. Oh, nope, here it goes.
Pass it, Squeaks!
Whoa! Watch it! You almost hit me in the pee-pee!
What's so funny, you two? He said pee-pee. Do you notice that when you say pee-pee, you giggle, but when you say penis, you say it in a serious voice? I never noticed that before. Some children and adults feel uncomfortable when they talk about their private parts, so they make up cute or funny names for them. What's one for a girl's private parts?
Vajayjay!
But what does Scoops mean when he says vajayjay? He means vulva. That's right, Kayla. It's important to use the proper words for our private parts. Why? Because our private parts are just as amazing as our hearts, lungs, brains, or any other of our amazing body parts. But our hearts pump blood, our lungs breathe, and our brains think.
All our private parts do is pee!
That's not entirely true, Scoops. It is true that a person pees or urinates through a hole called the urethra in the penis. Does everyone have a urethra? They do. It can be harder to see, but girls have a tiny hole in the front of the vulva where urine comes out from their urethra. Urination is actually very important. It helps us get rid of waste, stuff our body doesn't need.
Hey, how come my penis gets big sometimes and points up in the air?
That's called an erection.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good.
Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
You have a clitoris there, Kayla, that probably feels good to touch the same way Keith's penis feels good when he touches it. But have you ever noticed that older kids and grown-ups don't touch their private parts in public?
They don't?
That's right, Keith. It's okay to touch yourself and see how different body parts feel, but it's best to only do it in private.
Well, if private parts are so special, why do you cover them up?
All right. You guys get the gist. They are showing this shit to 6-year-olds, and somebody actually made this cartoon. Imagine being an actress who gets hired to come in there and do the voices for that, reads the script and sees what they're doing and says, oh yeah, I have no problem doing this. This is child abuse. Like, they have no sense of decency whatever. None whatsoever. And, you know, it's... I used to be far more just, like, open to, you know, whatever you want to... Whatever you do, you know, in the privacy of your own home, this and that. But when you start to see that if you give these people any ground, how far they'll take it. Remember, it wasn't very long ago when all they said was we just want gay people to be able to get married. That's all they wanted. That was clearly a lie then, and they are proving it now. These people cannot be trusted. If they have betrayed our trust and goodwill in the past, why are we supposed to think that they will not betray our trust and goodwill in the future? There is none left to give. So we don't need, and we can't just stop and say it stops here. We'll let this go, but it stops here. No. We have to retake ground. Ogerfell needs to be overruled. We need to go back to the Christian definition of marriage. We need to take this country back and undo the damage that they have already done. And if that means that some people feel like they are oppressed or that they don't have a fitting place in society, fine. I don't give a shit. Because you know who's now oppressed and doesn't have a place in society? The good Christian people that built this nation from the ground up. The people who believe in the concepts of America no longer have a place in this society. And we're supposed to just say, okay, fine, I guess I'm okay with that? Fuck no. These people do not represent a large portion of the population. We are ceding the entire culture of this society to a small portion of people in the name of some sort of inclusivity. And what do? They turn around and they exclude the majority of Americans from the culture. They only include the people that were considered freaks when we held the culture. It's like Tom McDonald said in his song. What was it? I think it was. And People So Stupid. He had a line where he said, "Ignoring all." What did he say? Catering to minorities, ignoring all the masses, or something like that. That is exactly what's happening. And I don't mean minorities in terms of racial minorities. It could be any sort of minority, just any sort of small, specific group of people. They are catering everything. Our culture caters everything to them and then tells the masses, the majority of the people, to get fucked. That is not how you build a society that is going to work, that is going to function, that is going to get along. The resentment is boiling up, and I got plenty of resentment for these people. I previously did not have this resentment, but they have taken advantage of us. They have turned and ostracized us in our own homes, in our own country. Now I resent them. So Mark Medina, and look, Mark, I got no problem with you being here. I did not think you were trolling earlier, but there is a reason, and it's fine if you're on the left and you're in here. I got no problem with lefties listening to me and even engaging in the chat, so long as you're not trolling. That person before was trolling. But if you really want to engage in an honest discussion and you say it is important to help kids talk about genitalia and even sex at a certain age, but not 6 years old. But yeah, this video goes a bit too far. Yeah, it goes way too far. There is a virtue to preserving a child's innocence as long as possible. When you have a long and healthy childhood that is protected through the innocence, you will end up growing into a much more well-adjusted adult. If you are debased at a young age, you are going to degrade yourself early in life and lead you down a path during your most formative years. It's your most formative years, I mean, maybe not most formative, but when you are reaching puberty, when you are reaching the age where you start learning about that kind of stuff, if you already know all about that stuff, if you've already been exposed to it in all of those years leading up to it, and it's all of a sudden normal and natural to you, well, then why? I mean, when you're in high school and you're doing things for the first time, it should be like confusing. It should be something that you kind of feel a little bit of shame about and you're not really sure. But instead, if you've been exposed to this stuff since you were a little kid, you're not going to have any sort of limiters on you. You're not going to have any sort of moral limitations at an age where you really need to be going slow. Let's see. The True Grave says, they exist because natural selection doesn't kill them off anymore. I suggest we fix this problem immediately. I mean, it's... And then this comes out from the UN, the United Nations, who we all know the United Nations is asso. No consensus on the degree to which pornography is harmful to children, report from UN agency UNICEF. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I mean, really, you can just kind of read the headline and get the gist of it. But a report released by the UN agency UNICEF, the UN Children's Fund, states that while age verification tools may prevent children from accessing pornography from commercial websites, it is unlikely that they would prevent children from accessing pornography completely, adding, there is currently no universal agreement on the nature and the extent of the harm caused to children by viewing content classified as pornography. UNICEF also claims that asking for age verification to access pornography online may deny children access to what it calls vital sexuality education. No. Porn is not where kids need to be learning their sex education. Oh my God. Guys, this world that we are living in. I mean, this is why I'm saying this Pride Month has become Grooming Month because they are aiming everything at the kids these days. The Coolest Nerd says, there are countless studies showing porn can be harmful to adults, and you can't even figure out that it's harmful to children. Exactly. Oh, but they haven't been able to quantify an exact amount of how harmful it is, so we must ignore the entire notion that it is harmful. It's... Chelly Chell says, hey, the U.S., I think you mean get the U.S. out of the UN. Oh, yeah. Michael Knowles used to always say, I would not be opposed to destroying the UN building and turning it into another Trump Tower. Yes. All for that. Destroy the UN building in New York and turn it into a Trump Tower. That seems like a perfect use of that land to me. But we see this from the Daily Signal, where from Mickey Mouse to Tony the Tiger, brands improperly target kids for Pride Month. Pride Month, the celebration of the LGBTQ lifestyle, occurs each June, and for years now, mainstream corporations with recognizable brands have participated in Pride Month by marketing special products, often festooned with rainbow flag, the rainbow flag, the primary symbol of the LGBTQ community. You can't get anything now without it being rainbow covered. So I hope you stocked up in May so that you don't have to go and buy all this rainbow colored shit to have in your house. This year is no exception, but there's been an uptick in brands that are targeting the marketing of their LGBTQ Pride Month products towards kids. Corporations can generate plenty of business without using their brands to target young children on an issue that's beyond their limited scope of understanding. On May 20th, Lego, the iconic Danish brand that markets building blocks to children, unveiled an LGBTQ-themed Lego set. While the play itself doesn't say anything, specifically about promoting LGBTQ culture, the rainbow-themed Lego figures make it obvious. But lest anyone miss the message, Lego made it clear in a tweet. Said, "We have committed to support a number of organizations on an ongoing basis, including UK charity Diversity Role Models, which helps children learn about empathy to ensure our future founders are accepting of everyone. Children do not need to be taught empathy. Children tend to be extremely empathetic as they are." Disney, another epic brand created to bring children happiness, just unveiled its Pride Month products in the Rainbow Disney Collection. The collection includes items such as stuffed rainbow-colored T-shirts, colored shorts wearing Mickey Mouse, T-shirts, baseball caps, masks, and more. Disney's all-star characters from Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars don the rainbow apparel too. And that's not enough. Like Lego, the Walt Disney Company is donating part of its proceeds to organizations that support LGBTQ community causes, which we all know. All of these political LGBT organizations, the LGBT thing to them is just a subversive weapon to instill cultural Marxism and to subvert, devalue, and degrade our culture. So politics aside, LGBTQ issues comprise complex ideas about gender and sex, which should be adult-only topics. Not only are they inappropriate for kids, they're also unrelated to, indeed antithetical to, the magic, wonder, and innocence of childhood that Disney brand purports to embody. Even food brands that kids enjoy are jumping aboard the Pride train. For the second year in a row, Mars Wrigley North America is releasing its limited edition Skittles Pride Packs, which feature gray packaging on the outside and all gray candies on the inside. Only one rainbow matters during Pride. The packaging says the brand is donating $1 per package up to $100,000 purchased in June to the LGBTQ advocacy group GLAAD. And GLAAD essentially operates as a we've heard the term the gay mafia in Hollywood. That's essentially what GLAAD is that they strong arm people, anybody who opposes their opposition or opposes their positions, opposes their agenda. They do everything in their power to go after and destroy those people. They do not just try to have fair discussions and arguments about the ideas. They go after the people. So Kellogg's, the maker of iconic cereals such as Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops, has collaborated with GLAAD and released a Together with Pride-themed cereal with the slogan, "Boxes are for cereal, not for people." Now, what's funny is, I should have thought to pull it up when I was doing my prep show for the show, but you go to like the BMW Twitter page, and they have the BMW logo with all the different colors of the rainbow for their Pride Month. But then if you go to BMW Saudi Arabia, they don't do that shit. They don't do that shit. Not one bit, because this entire thing is a marketing gimmick. They are using the LGBTQ community as a marketing tool to sell products and make money. That is all this is to these people. These people don't give a fuck. These people don't give a fuck about the LGBTQ community. They care about virtue signaling. They care about not getting boycotted. And, of course, they have to put this stuff out, because if they don't, people look at them and say, well, why didn't you do anything for Pride Month? And it's the whole idea that the left demands orthodoxy. They demand that you go along with the agenda, and if you just try to sit back quietly and just not partake, they're going to sniff you out. It's just like in 1984. During the 2 minutes of hate, you actually have to be sitting there screaming at the screen, or people are going to look at you and that you're going to give yourself away. That's exactly what this is like. Mark Medina says Disney is anything but innocent. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I agree with you, Mark, on that. Disney has been far from innocent for a very, very long time. Lloyd Steele, what's up, dude? Good to have you back in here. Good to have you back. Robert Whaley says, Paul Joseph Watson just put out a video about the Middle East lack of Pride Month. Yeah, I think I saw that one, actually. I watch pretty much everything Paul Joseph Watson puts out. He's great. He's always quick to the point, and he covers things very well. Big fan of Paul Joseph Watson. But let's see. Teletubbies, a British Teletubbies is another one. Teletubbies, even when I was younger, when I was a kid, there was a lot of stuff where people were like, that shit looks like some pedo stuff. Teletubbies, a British children's television series, has also released a Pride collection inspired by trendy 90s streetwear and centered on two themes: Big Hug, Big Love, and Teletubbies Love Pride. They have to sell this stuff to your kids. So proponents of brands for targeting children for LGBT Pride Month insist the endeavors are innocent and meant to instill love and equality in people as early as possible, but that's unnecessary. Children are inherently far less biased than adults. They tend not to need encouragement to accept people. No, children don't see the world through any sort of bigoted lenses. They see the world through these wondrous, innocent eyes, and that is what we try not to take away and disrupt at an early age. We want them to preserve that because it will help them grow into healthy adults. So Pride Month, and particularly the parades that are staged nationwide throughout the month, often feature drag queens whose appearance would be confusing to most children. They have a lot more than drag queens. I mean, they've basically turned into kink festivals, and they take the kids to it. And I actually have this video right here. This person right here, this thing says how to talk to kids about kink. You don't. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to talk to them about it. You're supposed to shield them from this stuff. But listen to this. Listen to this thing.
Did you have fun today, kiddo? It was your first Pride Parade. That's amazing.
And you can see, so it says 1, open the conversation to questions about their experiences at Pride.
We saw a lot of new things. Did you see anything that you have questions on?
2, validate their feelings. Refocus the experience to being open-minded to new things. These are not things that kids should have a mind about at all.
We're different, huh? I don't think you've ever seen anything like that before. But different isn't bad, right? It's actually really important that we have different things. Can you imagine if we only had one flavor of ice cream? That'd be real boring real fast. So those people were doing a type.
Now, what does that tell to that child when, say, you want to grow up and get married? What is having one partner? That would get boring real fast. They're instilling that idea already. 3 here, they say, create empathy based on similar experiences and feelings. Children shouldn't have similar experience and feelings to what is going on at the kink festivals.
Of adult dress up. And just like when you put on your dinosaur costume and that makes you feel good, when they put on those things, it makes them feel really good. You're a smarty.
If they guess that it's about sex, congratulate them on recognizing it so they stay open to talking with you about it. Now, notice it says here, how I talk to kids under 10 about kink.
Pants, and you're right, sometimes. It can be about that, but not always. There are details about this that I can't share with you yet.
It says 5, be honest and be open and honest about what you can or can't say without shutting down the conversation. You shouldn't just, they shouldn't be exposed to this in the first place. God, I'm a fucking broken record at this point.
But we can keep having conversations, and I'm never going to lie to you about it. And whether it's about that or not, guess what still applies.
And he says, direct the conversation to something adjacent like consent to build foundational understanding. These people have plans. This person actually sits down and concocts a plan to how to talk about this stuff to It doesn't just say their kids. It just says to kids under 10. Oh, we got Barracuda in here. What is up, dude? What is up? Good to have you in here. You're late and super straight.
Consent, you're right. Do you remember what we talked about for consent? Let's talk about it more. Did you have fun today, kid?
That is how they talk about kink to kids. The fact that they actually sit down and develop a plot to talk to underage kids about kink when taking them to pride parades that are essentially kink parades. Jesus. And then you got this one, another one. How I explain to kids what being trans is.
So when a baby is born, the doctor looks at the baby and says, oh, this is a little girl, or, oh, this is a little boy. And sometimes the doctor gets that wrong. So when I was born, the doctor looked at me and said, oh, this is a little girl. And so everybody thought I was a little girl. But when I got old enough to tell people who I was, I said, wait, I'm not a little girl, I'm a boy. And that means that I'm transgender. What everybody told me I was is not actually who I am, and I just had...
That actually is who you are. That actually is. Hate to break it to you, buddy.
I had to explain that to people. And there's nothing wrong with being transgender. So when a baby is born, the doctor looks at the baby and says, oh, this is a little girl. Or, oh, this is a little...
Okay, so the coolest nerd says, I could have made that same video in 5 seconds. You saw what? Well, some people like weird things. Ignore that shit. Yeah, exactly. Be like, those people are degraded assholes. You need to stay away from those people. Another asshole says, most people think if they leave things alone, they will survive this good time to check with friends. They will survive this good time to check with friends who you haven't had contact with to see if they need welding assistance. Born a Hawkeye says, how about just like sex ed in 5th grade, you speak on reproduction and keep it at that, nothing else. It's always been that way and it needs to stay that way. Yeah, I think that's when I had sex ed too, and that's what it was about. It was just about reproduction. That's it. That was it. They didn't talk about sexuality. They didn't talk about, the act of it. It was just about it was more of an anatomy lesson than anything. But Karma Cat says, so when is this child abuse? I believe we've already crossed into that threshold of what is child abuse. I think we're already there. I do believe we're already there. And now this doesn't have to do with the kids, but I just saw this on that Libs of TikTok page, and there's a flag for everything now. There's a flag and a fag for everything now.
This is the phrasexual flag. It represents everyone who's phrasexual. In other words, those who only experience a sexual attraction for people that they are not in a close emotional bond with. And they lose that attraction as they get to know the person. The blue and cyan stripes stand for strangers or acquaintances. The white stripe stands for lack of attraction. And the gray stripe at the bottom stands for any confusion about your sexual attraction.
So basically, if you're a hoe with intimacy issues, you're phrasexual now. That's what it all comes down to. If you act like a hoe and you can't hold it down with somebody and you just want to bang people that you don't know, you're phrasexual now. The True Grave. I think you're a little behind us, True Grave. I think you're a little behind us. Either that or for some reason your comment just got in here. But fortunately, we are creating some based havens in this country. And unfortunately, this page for some reason has to reload. And it is not. Okay, so Ron DeSantis, future President DeSantis, on June 1st, the first day of grooming month, has signed a bill. A bill banning trans athletes from competing in opposite sports. So DeSantis signs bill protecting girls from competing against biological males on first day of Pride Month. Gotta love it. got to love this move. The fucking big balls on Ron DeSantis. This dude is... There's a reason why I call him future President DeSantis, and I would vote for this dude any day of the week. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis kicked off the start of Pride Month by signing a bill into law, the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, that protects female athletes from having to compete against biological males. We believe in the state of Florida of protecting the fairness and the integrity of women's athletics, DeSantis said. I can tell you this in Florida, girls are going to play girls' sports and boys are going to play boys' sports, and that's what we're doing. Yeah, it's really that. What's I never thought 10 years ago that I would have to celebrate this being a thing. It was the norm. It was the standard. This was just called fucking Tuesday. But now we actually have to commend a governor for having the balls to come out and make sure that dudes are not smashing women on the fucking rugby fields and breaking their skulls in the MMA rings. The world falls fast, ladies and gentlemen. The world falls fast. Let's see. We're going to make sure that that's the reality. So the bill that we're doing today will ensure fairness for women athletes for years to come in the state of Florida. It says that athletic teams or sports that are designated for females are open to females. And we're going based off biology. Yes. The only thing to base it off of. The only thing to base it off of. The bill defines a student's biological sex based on the student's official birth certificate at the time of birth. Well, this might come back to bite some of these people in the ass when some of these states now do not actually follow biological sex when filling out the birth certificate. So we might need to have something that is a little more adequate than this in the future, just to make sure that you don't have, the little boy born with a vagina that ends up still having that on their birth certificate. Holy shit. What the fuck am I talking about? Why has our society gone this far? Why do I have to talk like this? The bill defines so DeSantis continued. And as part of the bill we're signing today, we're not only making sure women have opportunities for scholarships and competition at the highest level, we're also putting in statute ways to actually vindicate the rights of any woman athletes who may be discriminated against. So moving forward, I love the way he's wording that, by the way. Love the way he's wording that. So moving forward, any students who's deprived of an athletic opportunity as a result of violation of this law will have the right to civil remedies. Any school or public post-secondary institution that suffers direct or indirect harm as part of a violation of this bill, included by a governmental entity, accrediting organization, or athletic association, can also pursue civil remedies. Any student who is subject to retaliation as a result of reporting a violation of this bill can also pursue civil remedies. Ron DeSantis, ladies and gentlemen, future President Ron DeSantis. Love it. But, of course, we got the potato administration. We now have Biden's embassy to the Vatican is flying the LGBT flag, asserts LGBTQI rights are human rights. Notice how BMW at least had the courtesy not to change their logo to a rainbow gay pride logo for Saudi Arabia, because that would piss off the Islams. Well, you don't give that same courtesy. The U.S. government is not going to give that same courtesy to the Pope or to the Vatican, to the Catholic Church. No. They are going to rub it in their face, pour salt on the wound, and throw sand in their eyes over in the Vatican. So the U.S. Embassy to the Holy See is flying an LGBT pride flag, and it will fly it for the entirety of June, claiming that flying it near the Bishop of Rome will show the embassy's solidarity with the LGBT community. The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See celebrates Pride Month with the pride flag on display during the month of June. The U.S. and Holy See wrote on Twitter. The United States respects the dignity and equality of the LGBTQI plus people. They clearly do not respect the dignity of the Christian faith. Clearly. This is an overt sign of disrespect. The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See is less than 3 miles from the Apostolic Palace where the Pope resides. This is intentional antagonism. And Lord knows, Pope Francis is no, he's no great pope. He is basically as left as a pope has ever been. And even still, that's why you cannot give these people, you cannot expect these people to operate in good faith with you. You can't. You've got to understand, these leftists, these communists, these Marxists, they are the fucking enemy. Treat them as such. So the move comes just over a month after Joe Biden's Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, issued a blanket authorization for the U.S. diplomatic outposts around the world to fly the pride flag on the same flagpole as the U.S. flag at their embassy or consulate, showcasing support for LGBTQ rights. This is a policy reversal from that of the Trump administration under former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo said, "Get that shit out of here." Good. We need Pompeo back. I always liked Mike Pompeo. One user wrote, "Is the embassy in Saudi Arabia hanging a pride flag?" Oh, yeah. Another added, "Going to do the same in the Middle East." A third added, "Pope Francis is about as sympathetic as a holy father can be to the political left, and this is how they treat him. It's entirely possible that the red hats see this, decide no compromise with the left will ever be enough, and give up entirely on trying to please the left." They should have seen that a long fucking time ago. There is no compromise to the left. There is none. We need to give up trying to appease them. We need to give up trying to get their acceptance. Oh, you don't like me? Get fucked. You want to call me a racist? Get fucked. You want to call me a homophobe? Get fucked. You want to call me a transphobe? Get fucked. All of you, get fucked. We are not kowtowing to them anymore. We are not your daddy's Republicans. We are not your daddy's conservatives. We are not going to kowtow and be nice and cowardly with these people. We see them for what they are. We know what their agenda is. We know what their mission is, and we are not going to grant them we are not going to grant them any sort of clemency for their dishonesty and for their subversion. None. All right. Now, let's see. I had to show this. This is good news because, after all, God, we're already an hour and 40 minutes in. I think I'm going to, because I did not do a show on Tuesday, I am going to go long for you guys tonight. I am going to probably no more than 2.5 hours, but I am going to go a little bit long for you guys tonight because I did have to cancel Tuesday's show, and I felt bad about that because I have been trying very, very hard to stick to a strict schedule with this show. But videos, Trump boat parade stretches as far as the eye can see in Jupiter, Florida. MAGA is not dead, ladies and gentlemen. MAGA is still alive. That big dick Donald Trump energy is still roaring, especially in Florida. And so we see this. MAGA is alive and well. Trump 2024. We're going to talk about these audits coming up soon, so we may not have to wait until 2024. We will see. You can see the Trump flotillas, and we'll just scroll around through these. We don't need to play the whole thing, but I just love seeing all these Trump boat parades. They are great to see.
Hey, boat parade. Hey, what's up, ladies? Hey.
All the Trump flags.
Hey, babe.
All the boats.
Here, can you put this in your bag?
Nobody wearing masks, not in Florida. Florida is becoming what Texas wished it could be right now. I might have to take my ass to Florida. Florida is looking fan-fucking-tastic right now. And you have more videos of the Trump boat parades are back. MAGA Memorial Day parade kicking off in Jupiter, Florida. They thought they could beat us. They thought that they could destroy our morale. That will not happen. That will not happen. I need to get myself a boat like this when I go down to Florida. Yes. This is the world I want to live in, ladies and gentlemen. Just boats and Trump flags as far as the eye can see. To me, that is heaven on earth to me. These are the kinds of people I want to hang around all the goddamn time. Got to love it. Got to love it. And then we saw this. Somebody at the Mets game, they were actually playing the Braves, which... Oh, hold on. Y'all know me. I'm a big-time Braves fan. Chipper Jones, my favorite player of all time. The Braves were playing the Mets in Citi Field, and somebody... Oh, just watch this. I'm not going to play this whole video because it's 11 minutes, but...
Go, go. Go, go. Take it. Go. And all the way left, Joe. Go. Throw it over. Throw it over, Mark. Throw it over.
Trump won.
Trump won. Down, Joe. Look at me, Joe. Look at me. Look at me, Joe. Trump won. Let it fall, Joe. Let it fall. Let it, Joe. Don't. Let it fall. Let it fall.
And so they ended up getting kicked out. Let's see. I think there was... Yeah, they came in.
I would rather just be ejected.
And they're like, we're cool. We'll be ejected. We don't care about the baseball game. And then when they got kicked
I just
out...
want to leave. Don't, dude, you touch me. Do not touch me. I just want to leave. I just want to leave. You know we didn't sneak in. Thanks. Dion. Thanks, man. Thanks. We just want to leave.
All right, now there's going to be somebody that comes up.
Let's go. Wrap it up. We want to leave. We want to go downstairs, not elevators. Okay. They're leaving. You can't stop this guy. We don't even know who he is. He didn't touch the flag. He didn't touch the flag. He didn't touch the flag. He didn't do anything.
This guy in the...
I was having a conversation with him. Where's your ticket, Mr. Riley? Mr. Riley, I said.
Oh! That's nice. That's nice. No, that's assault. That's assault.
Of course, they have to come up and assault him. Yeah. Karma Cat says, can you believe they actually got assaulted? Yeah, I know. Because these lefties, that's all they know. All they know is violence. All they know is rage. And they like to say that the right is violent. No, we like to own guns. We like to have the ability to be extremely violent and have the wherewithal not to actually be violent. We want the ability to, so that we can protect and defend people to the best of our ability. We don't want to use our lethal skills and that sort of thing just as a way to exert rage on people. We want to be able to protect and defend, and we want to be able to be better than anybody who is a threat to us or the ones that we love. But the left, no. They're all these 90-pound pussies. They're all these little weaklings, but they always have to go out there, and they push people around, and they think that they won't get hit back. But because we tend to show so much restraint, they think they can get away with it all the time. The coolest nerd says, funny how he wears a mask but is willing to break social distancing when it comes to assaulting his political opponents. That's nothing new. We've seen that plenty. We have seen plenty of that. Now, we have to talk a little bit about Black Lives Matter. Because Black Lives Matter has been... It hasn't been going so well for Black Lives Matter recently. Things have not been good in the world of Black Lives Matter, and that is great for us to see. And we have this video that comes out, The Truth About BLM, and this was a guy who founded one of the BLM chapters in Minnesota, and I'm just going to play, it's 2 minutes long, so I'm just going to play this.
I was born in Minneapolis in 1985. We called the North Side home at that time. 18th and Queen. When I was 2 years old, my father was shot and killed.
God, why is it doing this skipping?
Killed. My mother wasn't able to take care of me, so I was raised by my grandparents. They told me that if I was going to change my life for the better, education was the answer. So I worked hard in school. I got into Hamline University and earned a college degree, first in my family. Then I went on to earn a master's in education from St. Mary's University of Minnesota. I am living proof that no matter your start in life, quality education is a pathway to success. I want the same success for our children in our communities. That's why in 2015, I was a founder of Black Lives Matter in St. Paul. I believe the organization stood for exactly what the name implies. Black lives do matter. However, after a year on the inside, I learned they had little concern for rebuilding black families, and they cared even less about improving the quality of education for students in Minneapolis. That was made clear when they publicly denounced charter schools alongside the teachers union. I was an insider in Black Lives Matter, and I learned the ugly
Charter
truth.
schools, yes.
The moratorium on charter schools does not support rebuilding the black family, but it does create barriers to a better education for black children. I resigned from Black Lives Matter after a year and a half, but I didn't quit working to improve black lives and access to a great education. Today, I serve as the president and executive director of Minnesota Parent Union. We're dedicated to helping parents move their children from failing schools to successful schools. It's hard work, and we're up against forces that don't want us to succeed. But success is possible. Just look at me and the hundreds of children and families we've helped to pursue a great education, break the chains of poverty, and lead a life of success.
So Charlie Shell says at least he's working to undo the damage he caused. It doesn't sound to me like he actually caused any damage. It sounds to me like when he was probably operating as the head of that Black Lives Matter chapter, that he was not engaging in the Marxism, and that it wasn't, and that once he realized what the rest of the organization was pushing him to do, to take his chapter, he resigned. I could be wrong about that. That, of course, I'm making something of an assumption there. Oops, got to live edit again. Making something of an assumption there. But, you know, I'll take that. You know, I will take that. So, anybody who wakes up to what the agenda really is and stands up against it, they are good in my book. And, of course, hold on just a second. Live editing again. But now we have, I guess it's got to load. I don't know why some of these pages have to reload. They should have already been up and loaded. Give it just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors has resigned amid controversy. So the trained Marxist has resigned. The embattled co-founder of Black Lives Matter announced on Thursday that she, because BLM stands for Buying Lavish Mansions, announced on Thursday that she is resigning as executive director amid criticisms over her lavish lifestyle. Patrisse Cullors, 37, who has been at the helm of the Black Lives Matter global network for nearly 6 years, said she is leaving to focus on a book and TV deal. So this anti-capitalist Marxist is leaving to focus on a capitalist venture. Because, of course, because for socialists, for communists, for Marxists, it's always socialism for thee, capitalism for me. That is the way they operate. Charlie Charles says, Ram, did you see the video of the black man with his daughter that's anti-critical race theory? I did, and it was really good. I meant to pull it up. I had so many things. I have so many things to cover today. I didn't have it pulled up already, and so I don't have it with me. But I did see it. It is really good. I have another one though that I think less people have seen that I want to show. So her last day at the foundation is Friday. I've created the infrastructure and support and the necessary bones and foundations so I can leave. Colors said. It feels like the time is right. Yeah, it feels like the time is right because you have milked that thing for all it is worth. You have milked that cash cow for everything you can get out of it, and now you are on to bigger and more profitable opportunities because deep down, all socialists are capitalists when they stand to gain. But her resignation comes amid controversy over the group's finances and Color's personal wealth, including an alleged real estate buying spree in which she snagged 4 high-end homes for $3.2 million in the U.S., according to property records reported last month. But Colors said her departure has been in the works and is not tied to those attacks. Those were right-wing attacks that tried to discredit my character, and I don't operate off of what the right thinks about me. The thing is, it wasn't just the right. Everybody was starting to question it. Critics of the foundation contend that more of that money should have gone to the families of black victims of police brutality who have been unable to access the resources needed to deal with their trauma and loss. That is the most tragic aspect, says Reverend T. Sherry Dickerson, president of an Oklahoma City BLM chapter and a representative of the hashtag BLM10, a national group of organizers that has publicly criticized the foundation over funding and transparency. I know some of the families are feeling exploited, their pain exploited, and that's not something I ever want to be affiliated, Dickerson said. Colors and the foundation said they do support families without maybe making public announcements or disclosing dollar amounts. That's because those dollar amounts are but fucking nothing. The mother of Breonna Taylor came out and said they didn't do anything for me. I walked into the room and they didn't even know who the hell I was. They don't care. Now, this guy, anybody remember back in like 2018, that the video that went viral of that big black dude, that big bald black dude goes into it like a city council hearing and he starts talking about gun control and like, why do y'all got to lay it at our feet, everyday Americans' feet, what these criminals do? I did not realize that man is now the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. He wasn't at the time. He was just a regular-ass citizen at the time. He is now the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, and the dude is awesome. So he was on, Gorka was filling in for, I think, Greg Kelly on his show on Newsmax, and he had him on there, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Robinson, and he says critical race theory mirrors the Ku Klux Klan, and it's 7 minutes and 48 seconds long, so I can't play the whole thing, but I do want to play a few minutes of it because this guy is fucking great, and I really hope that he elevates to governor of North Carolina at some point.
We're going to open the show right now with a person who I think epitomizes the new citizen politician. He is now the lieutenant governor of the great state of North Carolina. I am honored to have him as a regular guest on my radio show, America First. Mark Robinson, welcome to Greg Kelly Reports.
Thank you for having me here, Dr. Gorka. It's a pleasure as always. Excuse me.
So, friends, if you're not familiar with this man's story, a veteran of the U.S. Army, let us play you a little clip of how this story began. In 2018, the Greensboro Council wanted to cancel a gun show. And this resident, Mark Robinson, who at the time didn't even own a gun, said, "This is wrong. You're not allowed to do this. It's unconstitutional." And in a very brief speech that I still can't believe, to this day he tells me he didn't write down and he just did it on spec. This is what he told the council in Greensboro.
It seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous.
Now, I remember when that video went viral, and I was cheering when I saw that video. That dude is now the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy knowing that. I just love it. I love it.
If you haven't seen the whole video, after the show, late at night.
Oh, hold on. The coolest nerd says, I met him at the NRA annual meeting in Indianapolis. He and his wife are just the most humble, wholesome, and principled people. Classic good old Southern folk. Love it. Love it. Love it.
You've got to watch it. It's incredible. And that went viral, and now he's the lieutenant governor. Mark Robinson, we'll talk about the Second Amendment momentarily, but I heard through the grapevine, through my wife who follows critical race theory at the Heritage Foundation, that you have declared war on critical race theory and you understand its political origins. Why have you picked this fight, and why is CRT so un-American?
Well, I would say that I picked this fight, but I don't know if I picked this fight or if this fight picked me. This came onto our radar and came onto our table because we have been talking about indoctrination in our classroom for years. I witnessed it with my children when we were in high school. I witnessed it while I was a student at the university, an adult student at the university I attended. And on the campaign trail, we heard from parents and teachers and students all across North Carolina. Complaint after complaint about how this stuff is being pushed on to how these ideologies are being pushed in the classroom. And then critical race theory has become the focal point of all this because it's being used not only against our students, but it's now being used against teachers, and now it's being used in some workplaces as well. It is absolutely insidious what's happening here. If you go and take critical race theory as it is applied now and take it and then take some of the ideologies that were pushed by groups like the Ku Klux Klan and other hate groups. You can almost set them on top of each other, and they mirror each other in the way that they divide, the way they demonize people by race. We have come such a long way in this country. We have come all the way across this hard.
All right, if you guys want to watch the rest of that, you can find it on Newsmax. It was just really, really awesome. I wanted to shine a light on Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, and if you live in North Carolina, support this man and try to push for him to run for governor because I think he would make an excellent governor. Just had to highlight. You gotta highlight. I can't always talk about the negative, terrible clown world bullshit that's going on. Sometimes you gotta highlight the positive, and that is this man right here. And we got another one that I'm going to be highlighting soon in just a minute. A former Democrat turned Republican. We'll get to that in just a minute. But you know what? Because we're running so late, I'm going to skip this article. I'm just going to read the headline for this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But Denver BLM leader and school board member under investigation on multiple sex abuse allegations, including 62 high school DACA students. So he sneaks them into the country, gets them in here illegally, sexually abuses them, and then probably says, if you say anything, I'll deport you. That's I made that last part up, but wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, this dude right here. It's a long story. I'm not gonna read it. We are already so late on time. We're already at the 2-hour mark, and like I said, I'll go an extra 30 minutes today. But eventually my voice will start to give out on me. So yeah, JG Mopar says, imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. One of these lefties turns out to be a pedo. I've never seen a leftist pedo before. Borno Hawkeye says, you're right about that, but they are strengthened again, and that's the only reason Ron DeSantis is my governor currently. Well, let's... Charlie Cello says, whoop hop, thanks, Ram, thanks. Yeah, woohoo, yes. We got to highlight the good ones, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll skip over this. We need to talk about the audit because the audit train is moving ahead, full fucking steam ahead, and this is going to run the Democrats over. They are going to be tied to the tracks when this train rolls through the rest of the country. So Huge update from Arizona Audit Director Ken Bennett. Only 14 pallets are remaining out of 44 pallets. So on Wednesday, Jordan Conradson spoke to Arizona Forensic Audit Director Ken Bennett regarding the pace and procedures of counting ballots in the historic Arizona audit. Apparently, they have like 1,000 new people show up to volunteer. This thing is picking up steam. They are going faster and faster through all this. So let's go ahead and read this interview here. So Jordan Conradson, do you have an updated total? And Ken Bennett says, the best way for me to estimate the total is to count that we're now down to 14 pallets that haven't been touched. When the county delivered the ballots on April 22nd, there were 46 pallets. 2 of those were just test ballots and some other spoiled ballots and things like that. So pallets with ballots on them are about 44, and we're down to 14. So I think we're quickly coming up to about 2/3 completed. It was like 3 days ago that they were at 50%. So they are steamrolling through this audit. And so Conradson asked, so you're getting through probably 1 a day, would you say? He says, at least. I think we're doing about 1.5 pallets a day. There's only 14 left, so we're doing 1.5 a day, counting down. The counting could be done in the middle of June. So maybe 10 days. He says, whenever, yeah. The paper valuation goes a little bit slower and is a little more technical. All of these boxes in the corral over here have been counted but are awaiting paper valuation. There is a lot of work yet still to do on the paper valuation, but they've increased the paper valuation tables from what was originally 8 to now there's 32. They're not all full yet, but I think earlier today I saw 22 of the 32 in operation, so the paper evaluation is catching up quickly also. Says, Conrad asks, all right, and the paper evaluation, that's a forensic scan of all the ballots? He said, yeah. See him, they'll scan the back of the ballot, and then they'll flip it over and scan the front of the ballot. Then they'll pass it to another person who puts it under the microscopic cameras that are looking at the alignment marks and also looking at the oval and the presidential race to make sure that the oval was filled in by a human handheld device, not by a Xerox machine or something like that. And the guys are saving every single ballot image, assigning it a number and everything. Yes. So, holy shit, this is a well-run audit. What are you going to do with the images? Are they just extra evidence? Bennett says they're looking at the ballot. They're looking at those ballot images to verify that there's folds in the ballots that should have folds in it. 1.9 million of the 2.1 million ballots were mailed to the voters and mailed right back. So you can usually see that they are folded, but the 5K images being taken by the cameras will also show where the folds are on the ballot. We also know that they are photographing these ballots in 5K to make sure or to ensure that the mail-in ballots were in fact folded in an envelope. This is the most thorough forensic audit in the history, and it is the first of its kind. Mail-in voter fraud has been a serious voter concern for years. Why have we not done this every election with the mail-in ballots? Why have Democrats always denied mail-in voter fraud was a thing? This is huge, and they're really showing us what is going in to this audit. And now it has been reported that Pennsylvania has sent a delegation to Arizona to tour the Arizona audit. Holy shit! Holy shit! So, huge breaking news. Christina Bobb broke this news moments ago on One American News. I'm just going to play this video instead of reading her words. I'll let her say it.
Pennsylvania actually has sent a delegation out here. They've expressed interest in the Arizona audit and possibly replicating this in Pennsylvania. So there's a delegation of state legislators from Pennsylvania that arrive in Arizona today. They are getting a behind-the-scenes tour tomorrow. I'm hoping to catch up with them tomorrow, so hopefully we'll have some of that. But they are going to get to hear from the auditors exactly what is happening. Of course, there's been a lot of criticism about this audit, so they have concerns that they want to see addressed, namely, is voter integrity maintained? Is the secret ballot maintained? Of course, if there's any way that the audit could somehow be disparaging any certain demographic, they want to know all of that. So this is going to be an opportunity for them to get out and see exactly what's happening in Arizona. And if they like what they see, take it back to Pennsylvania.
Hell yes, ladies and gentlemen. Hell yes. and they were Senator Doug Mastriano, who, if anybody watched the God, I forget. There were so many videos that came out after the election. Doug Mastriano was in that whole Pennsylvania Senate hearing about the election shortly afterward, and he made a name for himself in that. So he says, if we do an audit in PA, this is the model. Pennsylvania Senator Doug Mastriano speaks out after the Arizona audit tour. And so on Wednesday, a Pennsylvania delegation was escorted into the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Arizona for an on-the-scene tour of the audit facility. The team from Pennsylvania consisted of State Senator Doug Mastriano, State Senator Chris Dush, and State Representative Bob Kaufman and their staff. The group received a briefing from Arizona legislators in the morning. They then took a tour of the entire audit facility, as we reported earlier today. The Gateway, so Jordan Conradson spoke to Mastriano, and let's just read this interview. So Conradson asks, can you give me a quick step-by-step of what you and other legislators from Pennsylvania did today? He said, myself, Senator Chris Dush, and Representative Rob Kaufman met with our counterparts in the House and Senate today. They gave us the legislative perspective on this audit, why they're doing it, and how they got here. Then, after that, we got a tour of the audit, and they went through the process of how they protect people's privacy, how they ensure chain of custody, and how this is a free and transparent process. I got to tell you, I'm impressed. This is a model for any audit in any nation of the world. Holy balls. Holy hell. Holy hell. Conradson asks, tell me more. What did you think of the process? Mastriano says, my impression of this right here is this is the way you do it. They're looking at the type of paper that's being used. They're looking at whether the circles were filled in by machine or by hand. This is the level of technology that we should have. The takeaway for Pennsylvania and the rest of the nation is that our elections need to be secure. People should be able to walk into the ballot thinking my vote counted. My voice was heard. If we got nothing to hide, let's do this. Conrad asks, I know you've already said this, but I want to hear this again. Is this process secure? Mastriano says this process is very secure. Conradson asked, do you plan to replicate this process in Pennsylvania? Yeah, if we do an audit in Pennsylvania, we need to do an audit, and this is the model. I don't know why in 2021 this is not more commonplace, where if people have issues, they can have their answers. It's about finding out who won, who got the most votes, and that's it. Additionally, in the military, we got what's called after-action review. We conducted an election, what went right, what went wrong, and what are we going to do to fix it? So, hell yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Hell yeah, Pennsylvania is next. And, well, it ain't just Pennsylvania. War Room, breaking news. Georgia GOP leaders, including Vernon Jones, to tour the Arizona audit next week. Georgia's getting on board, too. They're going to tour the Arizona audit. They're going to check out the process. Ladies and gentlemen, Arizona is busting this wide the fuck open. These next couple weeks are going to be nuts because they're being very tight-lipped about what they're actually finding in this audit. We have not gotten the results of this audit. We've seen what they're doing. We've seen how the process of how it's all working. And now we just need to see what were the results. JG Mopar says Michigan needs to get in there. Yeah, Michigan with Governor Whitmer probably will not happen. But remember, all we need is Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. If those three do it, and those three all show what we think it's going to show, whoo, that's all we need. And then the rest, we can fix the rest of that shit once everybody sees. And it might be that once the results come out in Arizona, that places like Michigan, places like Wisconsin, places like Nevada, places like Utah, they are all going to look at it and say, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this now. So Steve Bannon announced on his Thursday morning program that Georgia Senator Vernon Jones is leading a delegation of Georgia lawmakers to tour the Arizona audit early next week. Steve broke the news on the War Room this morning. Now, Vernon Jones is another one that I love, and Vernon Jones is going to be running for governor, and please, dear Lord, will my home state, the state where I was born and raised, please elect Vernon Jones. Now, The other option, Herschel Walker is another great option. I would not be mad if Herschel Walker won, but Vernon Jones, Vernon Jones is fantastic. He was a Democrat from DeKalb County, which I once lived in DeKalb County when I lived in Decatur, and or North Decatur, and he went pro-Trump. He went full MAGA as a Democrat, and initially he did not want to leave the Democrat Party, but then he realized this party's AIDS. This party is AIDS. So we'll watch this real quick. From Steve Bannon's War Room, the War Room Pandemic.
Just got a couple of minutes. I'm hearing rumors that Vernon Jones or other senior members, deplorables, and other senior members out there at the convention are actually thinking of going out to Arizona early next week and actually have a review, do due diligence, exactly what's been done by Pennsylvania. Doug Mastriano, can you give us any assistance on that? Is a group of patriots from Georgia going to head to Arizona, do the due diligence, and understand the model, what they're doing in Arizona, so they can take that model and do a full forensic audit, a recanvass, and a review of the machines in the state of Georgia?
Yes, absolutely, Steve. I don't mean to be succinct here, but I'm going to be cogent. Yes, I don't know if it's going to be led by Vernon Jones. I think Brandon Beach Paul's one of the senators, is going to go out there, as is Burt Jones, who might run for lieutenant governor. But I think, look, they want to know, why reinvent the wheel, right? Arizona has found a way to do this. They put in charge of this Ken Bennett, was a phenomenal choice running the audit, former Secretary of State of Arizona, former president of the state Senate. They're doing it the right way. They hired professionals, and they're not leaking anything. They're doing it the exact right way. So why would you try to reinvent the wheel? Come to Arizona.
He's right. Just do it the same way Arizona did. They are doing it right. They are setting the model. Let's see. JG Mopar says, I think Trump won California. I do too, man. I went to those MAGA rallies out in Beverly Hills. Holy balls. That was a ton of people. California, Los Angeles was coming out for MAGA. It was fucking amazing. It was amazing. And we got this interview from Vernon Jones, future governor of Georgia, Vernon Jones. So happy I get to say that. At least I'm really hoping he's future governor of Georgia. But let's take a listen. Well, again, this is a little long, so we're not going to listen to the whole thing. But based Vernon Jones.
Well, America's audit is truly America's audit, as what's happening in Arizona is inspiring patriots across the country, including those in the great state of Georgia. As based on Arizona's findings, Georgia gubernatorial candidate Vernon Jones is now calling on Governor Brian Kemp to authorize a similar forensic audit, not for one particular county, but statewide.
In recent weeks, I have found myself troubled by the recent findings coming out of Arizona as they conduct forensic audits of their own, led by their state legislatures. From this audit, previously unknown findings have since come to light, including reports of missing ballots, broken seals on the boxes and containers that contain them, and wholly deleted databases of information related to this election. That is not right. Let me make one thing clear. There's no place in Georgia elections for those types of shenanigans. And the findings of such an audit would paint a clear roadmap of where we must go from here in terms of further reform to safeguard our election process. That is why I'm calling on Brian Kemp today, this day, to order a forensic audit of all 159 counties in the state of Georgia.
Oh, yes. Yes. Based Vernon Jones. And Vernon goes on, he goes on and he says, and if he doesn't do it, I'll order it done when I'm governor in 2022. You want to get elected, Vernon Jones? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Yes. Support Vernon Jones in the great state of Georgia. Yes. All for Vernon Jones. It's just so great to see when you see somebody who was a Democrat and then they see the corruption, and they actually stand up and say, I will not be a part of this. And they go full MAGA, and it's awesome. It is so amazing to see. I love it. Yeah. Karma Cat says, seriously need to go to bed. Love you all. Discipline sucks. I never asked to be a grown-up. Well, thank you for coming out and spending time with us. I know I'm running long. I'm trying to give you guys a little extra bonus content because I had to bail on you guys on Tuesday, and I feel bad about that. But thank you for coming out, and I hope you come back next Tuesday. I will be here. We'll be here at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, every Tuesday and Thursday. Man, the Revved Up Rebel Nation is growing. It is getting bigger. Every single show, I got new people on here. You all are awesome. I love all of you. Glad to see you on here. We are keeping it going and keeping the real information coming out. And we got this now. More than 500 Georgia Republicans urge Kemp to pursue forensic audit of 2020 election. Now, I don't know that we can... What the hell is Brad Pitt on our screen? Is that Brad Pitt? I don't know if we can trust Brian Kemp to do the right thing. Brian Kemp seems dirtier than... I probably shouldn't say what I was going to say. He seems dirtier than a Vietnamese hooker or something. I don't know. But more than 500 Republicans in Georgia are urging Governor Brian Kemp to pursue a forensic audit of the 2020 presidential election. The letter obtained by the Washington Examiner on Wednesday was signed by 531 Republicans, ranging from grassroots activists to precinct leaders to delegates to the Georgia GOP convention, which is set to take place this weekend. At the center of their letter is a request for an independent forensic audit to take place through a convening special session. Kemp better do this. Kemp better do this. Kemp better do it. Do it, Kemp. Now, we got to talk a little bit. Last thing we're going to talk about is, here, the Fauci emails. Now, I have not had a chance to fully catch up on this entire story, but I do know that, so, Fauci's going down. Fauci is going down. I am not sure he is going to be able to survive this. So, this is from Headline USA. A tranche of newly released emails from the coronavirus czar Anthony Fauci offered a telling contrast in his priorities during the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. They revealed that Fauci entertained the possibility of a tag-along from a top CBS News correspondent while the National Institutes of Health scrambled to roll out a response for when the virus inevitably reached California. Yet days later, Fauci indicated that he was too busy to review public communications from a Trump advisor covering PPE, vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics. After White House staffers requested the review of an op-ed by Peter Navarro, Trump's director of trade and manufacturing policy, Fauci finally replied more than 5 hours past the requested deadline, "I do not have time for this, sorry." The disconnect might explain what many in the media claimed was a slow response from the Trump administration in February 2020, when the White House's coronavirus task force already had been formed under the oversight of Health Secretary Alex Azar and later Vice President Mike Pence. Yet Fauci seemed more concerned in the weeks prior with what he was going to have for lunch and whom he would be dining with. On February 23rd, a CBS News chief medical correspondent, Jonathan LaPook, requested to shadow Fauci for a day to give people an inside look at how seriously the government is taking the outbreak. LaPook then sweetened the deal by offering noshes from a well-known New York deli, and I could bring down a schmear from Barney Greengrass for lunch, he wrote. How could you pass that up? Fauci replied, how about a pastrami sandwich on rye and a potato niche? Whatever. Now we've got here. My voice is starting to go, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how much more I got in me here. Senator Paul, Fauci emails prove that he knew of Wuhan gain-of-function research. Newly released emails from the White House Chief of Medical Advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, prove that he knew the Wuhan Institute of Virology was carrying out dangerous gain-of-function research, Senator Rand Paul charged Wednesday night. The emails paint a disturbing picture of Dr. Fauci from the very beginning, worrying that he had been funding gain-of-function research, Paul told Fox News. The Ingram angle, and he knows. Told Fox News is the Ingram angle, and he knows it to this day, but hasn't admitted it. Paul, who has repeatedly clashed with Fauci over various issues related to the pandemic, was referring to a February 1st, 2020 email Fauci sent to his top deputy at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Hugh Auchincloss. The email was among 2,300 pages of messages and to and from Fauci obtained by BuzzFeed News earlier this week in response to a Freedom of Information Act request. Of all places, BuzzFeed News actually obtained this. I mean, credit where credit's due. BuzzFeed typically sucks, but credit to where credit due. They actually got it down on this one. So, Hugh, it is essential that we speak this AM, Fauci wrote. Keep your cell phone on. Read this paper as well as this email, and I will forward you to you now. You will have tasks today that must be done. The NIAID director attached the PDF of a 2015 paper published in the journal Nature Medicine titled "A SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronaviruses shows potential for human emergence." On that, one of that paper's authors was Dr. Shizing Li, a Wuhan Institute of Virology researcher known as the Batwoman, for her work on bat coronaviruses. Fauci also sent the paper to National Institutes of Health Deputy Director Lawrence Tabak. The paper you sent me says the experiments were performed before the gain-of-function pause in October 2014, but have since been reviewed and approved by the NIH. Auchincloss emailed Fauci later in the day. Not sure what that means, since Emily is sure that no coronavirus work has gone through any P3 framework. She will try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. Okay, stay tuned, Fauci answered. 2 weeks ago in committee hearing, Fauci, said they did not fund any gain-of-function research, Paul said Wednesday night. I quote that specific paper. He's worried about this in February of last year, but only 2 weeks ago he tells me, it wasn't gain-of-function research. Fauci and NIH Director Francis Collins have denied to lawmakers that any grant money for the Wuhan Institute of Virology was meant for gain-of-function research, defined by Fauci as taking a virus that would infect humans and make it either more transmissible or pathogenic to humans. While both Fauci and Collins have previously admitted there's no way of knowing whether researchers in Wuhan carried out undisclosed gain-of-function research, Fauci insisted during a House Appropriations Committee hearing last week that such work categorically was not done. There's a lot of evidence that Fauci has a great deal of conflict of interest, and that if it turns out that the virus came from the Wuhan lab, which it looks like it did, that there's a great deal of culpability and that he was a big supporter of the funding, Paul said. But he was also a big supporter to this day of saying, we can trust the Chinese on this. We can trust the Chinese scientists, and I think that's quite naive and really should preclude him from the position that he's in. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, of course, now that everybody is saying that, well, it's looking like this Wuhan lab theory is probably true, we've got this TDS from John Carl at ABC.
And yes, I think a lot of people have
hold on,
And yes, I think a lot of people have egg on their face. This was an idea that was first put forward by Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, Donald Trump. And look, some things may be true even if Donald Trump said them. And because Trump was saying so much else that was just out of control, and because he was, making a frankly racist appeal, talking about Kung Flu and the China virus, his notion that put forward that this may have or he said flatly that this came from that lab, was widely dismissed. But actually, there's some real reason. We don't know, by the way. We still don't know. We absolutely don't know.
So he's blaming Trump for the fact that they have such Trump derangement syndrome that they just went the opposite direction just because Trump said one thing. They had to say the other. That's what he's saying. And he's saying that, and he's blaming Trump for saying, it's because he had to attach it to all this racist stuff, like calling it the Chinese virus. That's not racist. Maggie Haberman did the same thing. Maggie Haberman from the New York Times basically blamed Trump for the media getting everything wrong about coronavirus, basically saying that, because it was Trump and we have such severe TDS, we couldn't possibly be honest about it because we had to go against Trump. I mean, these people are fucking insane. They are lunatics. These people all need to be, throw them in goddamn jail. I don't care. Find a crime. You know, you can indict a ham sandwich, as they say. Arrest all these fucking media people for their absolute spreading. So many people have died because of these assholes in the fucking media. Because they lied. Because they could not handle having Donald Trump as president. Because they aren't actually, they can't hide behind the First Amendment as a free press when they are not a free press. When they are agent mouthpieces of a deep state entrenched establishment. They are state actors. They are propagandists. They should be held accountable. They're not engaging in free speech, so they shouldn't be allowed to use free speech as a reason why they should not have to account for their crimes. And now, Dr. Fauci, ever since that email came out, he's now got his first interview with Nicole Wallace on MSNBC, MSDNC. And, of course, it was exactly what you would have expected it to be.
And just on this point of your public profile, I read through your emails that were released, and I just want to read one of them. There were a lot of inquiries about your public profile. I mean, this very conversation was much harder to have under the ex-president. And this was your response to one about whether or not you'd have a press conference. You wrote, "Yikes, that would make 4 days in a row without a press conference for me, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and tomorrow." I wonder if you feel like you're still making up some of that lost ground from many months under the last administration of not just no information, but disinformation being out there. Do you still see some hardness among his supporters around the vaccine or around some of these messages you're sharing with us today?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that there are people out there who, for one reason or other, resent me for what I did in the last administration, which was not anything that was anti-Trump at all. It was just trying to get the right information, to try and get the right data. And what they didn't seem to understand, I guess that's understandable.
We didn't
understand it, is that science is a dynamic process. So something that in January.
Stupid plebeians. We did not understand that science is a dynamic process. Fuck out of here. This is how they talk down to us. This is how they talk down. I'm going to skip over a good bit of what he has to say left because I'm done listening to this, but I just want to hear how they close it out.
Look at my emails. I never in the email said anything derogatory about President Trump.
Well, the true mark of someone is if they look good, even when their personal emails come out. So you passed the test that very few of us would pass. Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you.
He passed the test. His personal emails. These were not his personal emails. These were his work emails. Now, Tucker Carlson, and this is... Man, it's long, but I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna have to call the show. But I'm gonna play this clip from Tucker Carlson.
The utter fraudulence of Tony Fauci is obvious now, and it's widely acknowledged. But it was not always obvious. In March of last year, we interviewed Fauci on this show. We treated him with respect. We took his answers seriously. We're Americans, so we assumed the man in charge of protecting the U.S. from COVID must be rational and impressive. We also assumed he must be honest. But we were wrong. It soon became clear that Tony Fauci was just another sleazy federal bureaucrat, deeply political and often dishonest. More shocking than that, we then learned that Fauci himself was implicated in the very pandemic he'd been charged with fighting. Fauci supported the grotesque and dangerous experiments that appeared to have made COVID possible. We came to these conclusions incrementally, spurred by evidence that accumulated over the course of a year. Tonight, we have the mother lode. Thanks to a Freedom of Information request from BuzzFeed, we have thousands of emails to and from Anthony Fauci. They go back to the early winter of 2020. Collectively, they show that from the beginning, Tony Fauci was worried that the public might conclude COVID had originated at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, why would Tony Fauci be concerned that Americans would conclude that? Possibly because Tony Fauci knew perfectly well that he had funded gain-of-function experiments at that very same laboratory. The emails prove that Fauci lied about this under oath. Consider this exchange, which began the evening of January 31st, 2020. It was a Friday just before midnight. The first email came from an immunologist called Christian Anderson, who works at the Scripps Research Institute in La Jolla, California. Anderson warned Fauci that COVID appeared to have been possibly manipulated in a laboratory. Quote, the unusual features of the virus make up a really small part of the genome, less than 0.1%. So one has to look really closely at all the sequences to see that some of the features potentially look engineered. The next day, on February 1st, Tony Fauci wrote back, thanks, Christian. Talk soon on the call. Fauci then sent an urgent email to his deputy, a man called Hugh Auchincloss. The subject of that email, in all caps, was important. Quote, Hugh, it is essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward. You will have tasks today that must be done. Attached to that email was a document. It was entitled, quote, Barrick, Shi et al., Nature Medicine, SARS Gain of Function .pdf. Now, the Barrick in the attachment referred to Ralph Barrick, a virologist based in the U.S., who collaborated with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Barrick worked with a woman called Dr. Shi Shengli, known as the Bat Lady, because she manipulates coronaviruses that infect bats. She was the she in the attachment. Now, keep in mind that during the questioning from Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky fairly recently, Tony Fauci denied that this same Ralph Barrick had conducted gain-of-function research. Again, this is the Ralph Barrick in Fauci's attachment, which was entitled Barrick, Shi et al., SARS Gain-of-Function .pdf. And yet, under oath before the United States Congress, Fauci denied this.
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina. And if you look at the grant, and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain-of-function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
Oh, it wasn't just on Twitter. It was in Fauci's own emails. In retrospect, that looks a lot like perjury. We do know that starting early last year, a lot of people at NIH were worried that COVID had not occurred naturally. They were concerned it had been instead manipulated in a lab in China. And yet they seemed determined to hide those facts from the public. Again, why? On the afternoon of February 1st last year, Fauci held a conference call with several top virologists. Most of the details of that call were made hidden from public view. They've been redacted. We know the call was related to a document entitled Coronavirus Sequence Comparison. Jeremy Farrar, a British physician who runs a major research nonprofit, reminded everyone on the call that what they said was top secret. Quote, information and discussion is shared in total confidence and not to be shared until agreement on next steps, end quote. In other emails, Jeremy Farrar passed along an article from the website Zero Hedge. That piece suggested the coronavirus might have been created as a bioweapon. We now know that is a more plausible explanation than the one we believed at first and were told by the media, which is that corona came from a pangolin. And yet, for the crime of saying that out loud, a more plausible explanation, Zero Hedge was banned from social media platforms. Until recently, you were not allowed to suggest that COVID might be man-made. Why couldn't you suggest that? The fact checkers wouldn't allow it. Why wouldn't they? because Tony Fauci assured the tech monopolies that the coronavirus could not have been man-made. And so the tech monopolies shut down the topic. Watch Fauci lie.
A group of highly qualified evolutionary virologists looked at the sequences there and the sequences
he is a tiny man.
Bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human.
That was April 17th, 2020, very shortly into the course of this pandemic. At that point, what Tony Fauci just asserted as known could not conclusively have been known. That was a lie. Tony Fauci suggested that he knew because top researchers had decided conclusively that this must have jumped naturally from an animal to a human being. But again, at that point, he could not have known that. That was dishonest. 2 days after he said that, one of the virologists that Tony Fauci had funded to conduct dangerous coronavirus experiments in Wuhan wrote to thank him for the help. That man, a man called Peter Daszak, complained to Fauci that the American tax dollars he'd taken for these experiments were being, quote, publicly targeted by Fox News reporters. Yet Daszak remained grateful for Tony Fauci's support. Quote, I just wanted to say a personal thank you on behalf of our staff and collaborators, end quote. Now, strangely, most of this specific email from Daszak to Fauci has been redacted, and it was redacted under FOIA Section B7A. That specific exemption to the FOIA law applies to, quote, records or information compiled for law enforcement purposes, but only to the extent that production of those documents could reasonably be expected to interfere with enforcement proceedings. Are Peter Daszak and Tony Fauci under criminal investigation? We can only hope they are. They certainly deserve it. At this point, we can't say for sure.
Yes, I see all you guys in there saying, saying Fauci needs to go to Gitmo. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. This entire thing needs to be investigated. Robert Whaley says prison is too good for them. I favor a draw and quartering. Hell, I'm go for it. Go for it. President Trump did reinstate death by the bang bang sticks, firing squad. So I'm all for that too. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a blast hanging out with you guys tonight. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes, so I really got to go ahead and call this one a night. I'm starving. I got to get some food in me too. But as always, rev your engines, ride hard, and fight like hell.